Thank you very much, Mike. Wouldn't you want to say what is KEVOVA?
Well, KEVOVA, my assumption is that everybody here is part and parcel of KEVOVA. KEVOVA stands for Kenyans for Voluntary Vaccination. We came together because of the vaccine mandate, the COVID vaccine mandate, which most of us felt we should not be coerced or forced to take the vaccine, because we have a lot of information telling us that the vaccine has adverse negative effects on us health-wise. And so in a nutshell, that's what KEVOVA is all about. And we have a court case actually in going on at the moment against this coercion of people being forced to take the vaccine, the jab. And so that in a nutshell is what KEVOVA stands for, Kenyans for Voluntary Vaccination.
Thank you very much. I will start with the introduction, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Otieno Paul Peter, as some of you already know, and my background is science. I did a degree in physics in the University of Nairobi, and also did a Master's of Science in Information Systems. Finished very well, only that I didn't graduate. Story for another day. Currently a lifelong student of life. I love philosophy, metaphysics, always studying, psychology, religion, business, technology, health and nutrition, leadership, and family life. All those are subjects that interest me, and I continue to study them and practice and share. I am an IT and business consultant, recently certified by ILO on helping people to start and improve businesses. I am an entrepreneur. I have 3 main businesses. One has to do with building and equipping people to be able to live their dreams. Our company is called Live Your Dream Enterprises Limited. And then we also have ICT Gurus EA Limited that helps people to be online and solving technological problems. And then I also have some other business that's fairly old, and I love it so much. It has to do with health and nutrition. I love preventive medication as opposed to curative. And I've been in that field for over 10 years. Studying and trying to understand nutrition and using them. So, well, I'm also a corporate trainer, author. I've done 2 books, one called Live Your Dream in 7 Bs, achieving the lifestyle you desire one step at a time. And then there is also the making of a symphony orchestra, timeless leadership, team building facilitator, a speaker, and many more. More about myself can be found from my personal website, which is otienopolpeter.com. otienopolpeter.com. And so I welcome you to this discussion today. And our topic, as you've been told, is truth and independence in challenging times. Truth, and I love those particular terminologies, truth. And this idea of independence, I usually like to say that the first step in development is to be, most times when we are starting, we depend on others, we are dependents. And then we become independent, and then we become dependable. We become dependable. The objective for today is somehow to challenge us, inspire, encourage, equip us, that we may rise to the occasion and handle problems that are much better, problems that today bedevil the world. We are the leaders and thus problem solvers. Leaders are problem solvers. We find the way, show the way, and lead the way. And so, challenging times, when we talk of challenging times, we all know and appreciate that the times we are in today are fairly challenging. We have the health issues, like COVID has been here with us for over 2 years. The common cold right now in Nairobi and its environs, we've got people suffering from cold, flu, pneumonia, all sorts of things. We have economic challenges like food crisis that's happening, the cost of living going high. Today, people are crying that a packet of flour is over 200 bob, up from just under 150. There are insecurity issues, including wars. And so people are experiencing various challenges. And what happens is this causes people to be desperate. There is desperation and depression. We continue to be living in fear. And fear, therefore, starts to rule the world. Fear ruling our decisions. Fear ruling everything, our activities, and all that we are doing. Fear sending away our reasonableness and reasoning. So the challenges that today people experience have made some other people to undergo various reforms in their own personal lives, in their families. Others have lost jobs. Others, due to rising cost of living, have changed a lot of things, changed locations. And many times when we are bedeviled with such challenges, we stop being critical thinkers. We tend to start depending on others. We tend to look for some godfathers, or we tend to look for information. Where is the truth? Where is the solution? Now, every time there is a problem or there is a crisis, it's important to know that crisis also brings opportunities for some other people. And those are the people who will always seem to take advantage of the crisis that people experience. That includes opportunities for some other people to capitalize on what bedevils others, the population. So fear to less informed people, the simpleton, the weak of the society, you see, the unfit. We say survival for the fittest. Survival for the fittest means the fit don't survive and the fitter don't survive. It's only the fittest who survive. The question is whether we are fit or fitter or fittest. Many people become vulnerable. I was once taught by my grandmother many years back that fools are food for the wise. And I keep it. That was when I was in class 5. Fools are food for the wise. Opportunities for the wise, the powerful, and the rest is when they capitalize on the lack of knowledge. Yeah. And many times there are enough people who hoard knowledge. They hoard the truth and they only share what they think you should know. And each and every one of us need to be alert and take care, take responsibility in order to be able to stand strong, to stay fit, and be able to overcome the challenges that we face today. So where do you stand? Where do you stand as an individual? Martin Luther King wrote, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at the times of challenge and controversy." What's convenient or comfortable, or what's right and just? Where do you stand? Where are you on the comfortable side or convenient, or are you on the right? What is just? Yeah, are you leading the way or you are hiding? Are you providing solutions or you are bringing more problems? You are part of the problems, the people who conform to every narrative. So what steps are you taking? What steps are we taking? What steps am I taking? What's your role? What role are you playing in this? And our Lord Jesus told us, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Later, I heard somebody saying, Know the truth, and the truth will make you mad. So it's good to know the truth, even if it's going to make you mad. Yeah, because truth is important. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, say what's truth even if it is bitter. Even though it may be bitter and displeasing to people, it's important to say and seek the truth. It's important to always know what is right and be people who speak that which is true. When we are unsure, we say we are unsure. At one point, during an interrogation between Pilate and Jesus, Pilate asked, what's truth? And Jesus kept quiet. And I'd been thinking, why did he keep quiet? Then I realized he had answered that question earlier when he said, I am the truth, I am the way and the life. Back in the University of Nairobi, we used to have University of Nairobi anthem. And part of the words that I cherish is, we labor all together in search for knowledge and truth. In search for knowledge and truth. It is my responsibility, it is your responsibility to always look for the information and share, look for the truth and share. And basically, I'm not here to reveal any truths or secrets or to become any controversial, but I just want to provoke our thinking that we may be people who are alert and ready to look for that which they must. In Proverbs chapter 4, we learn that we are told, seek knowledge, seek understanding, seek wisdom. Wisdom is worth everything. And the whole chapter is talking about why it's good to always look for wisdom, look for knowledge. And Proverbs again, chapter 22, verse 3 says, a wise man sees a problem coming and avoids it, while a fool simply walks through it and suffers the consequences or the wrath for it. And so it's important for each and every one of us, before you just believe everything, before you buy into everything, should ask yourself, is it helpful? Is it the truth? I remember I'm a Rotarian, and in Rotary, we have what we call the 4-way test. Yeah, everything we are going to do, we say in everything we think, say, or do, 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendship? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And so in our practices, in everything that we are doing, in everything that we recommend, we always need to have that 4 dimension, whether it's beneficial to all concerned, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it fair to all concerned? And more so, number 1 is it the truth? And you know that truth is sometimes the point of difference between many people. So what do I think about the truth? I know that 1, the truth is that which sets us free, as we've been told. If we know the truth, we will be liberated. Fear will get away because we know how to handle it. You see, in investment, we are told that problem normally is not that investment is risky. It is risky when you have no knowledge, when you do not know the truth behind it, when you do not understand the game. Yeah. So risk is reduced by our level of knowledge, and that's why the moment we've learned what is the truth, what is the stand, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, then we are liberated. We are therefore able to make firm decisions and wiser decisions. So number 2, truth must be consistent. I think we need to know that. We need to remember that truth, we cannot have truth that keeps changing or that doesn't connect with each other. Yeah. Truth must be consistent. It must be built on the basis of what we already know, the known knowledge. I remember some years back, I set myself to develop a theory which I called the theory of convergence. that everything that is true must converge. If we are saying that there is God, then every truth in nature must point to that fact. Science must reveal God. Religion must reveal God. Philosophy must reveal God. Psychology must reveal everything. The nature, the ecosystem must reveal God. There is no way it can be different. One cannot, there is no aspect that can prove different or opposite to the other. So truth must be consistent. If it is not consistent, and that's why lying is very difficult. If you told a lie, you need to remember that lie so that you keep stringing them together, which is very, very difficult. Truth must be consistent. Another thing I learned about truth is, and this is a quote I love from Gautama Buddha. He says, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. So if people hide the truth, you just be patient and give them time. Because just like day and night, you cannot hide the truth long enough. By the end of the day, things start crumbling as long as we are alert and as long as we are able to keep our thinking intact. Another thing is truth must be long lasting. It's not something that is going to change often. It's eternal, just like Jesus is eternal, just like God is eternal. Truth, righteousness, light is eternal. You see, so those are bases that we can always use to test. Many years back, I think that was 2005, 2004, during the, I remember it was during the campaigns for the constitutional referendum, the first referendum. And one of our priests said, test the spirits, test the spirits. Yes, and that's when I learned that word, test the spirits. And the scripture says, test the spirits. I think it's the book of James. So it's always good to test what is peddled as truth and what we already know and what or some of the known facts. And maybe we'll go to examples about the same. Truth must always be verifiable. There is no monopoly of wisdom. Yeah, it might not be apparent at the first or at the initial stages, but over time, as we continue to learn, we will get to know better. I'm reminded of Galileo Galilei when he said that actually it is not the sun that is moving, it is the earth that is moving. And that created chaos. And by the way, the poor guy was murdered by the authorities. It is this same truth that caused Jesus to be killed. Yeah. When and later this became fact. Einstein, when he came up with the theory of relativity, which I loved so much, it was out of the box. It's out of imagination, but it causes such like people to think and bring up something, and just because it doesn't make sense for now may not mean it won't make sense tomorrow. So truth will be verifiable over time. Given time, you can always verify that this is it. This is it. You see? So those are some of the things when somebody tells us something, we need to check, is it something we can verify? Yeah, and truth largely is reasonable. It is largely reasonable. It welcomes debate. You can debate it. You can have intellectual discourses about it and with different people. And you are welcome to share your views, not being suppressed. If somebody doesn't want to listen to your own view and answer your questions, then probably there is something being hidden. So it's good to know, and it's good to be alert to check our environment, to check everything. Yeah, I learned a couple of years back when I went, when I used to take my children to the hospital, and I would come up with lots of drugs. And I was wondering, what are these for? Until I realized that they also have targets to meet. You see? And then a friend of mine at one point had some problems with her teeth. And when she went to some hospital, the doctor there recommended some surgery, which was very radical. And it was an emergency thing. When she went home to consult with the family, she was told, wait, pause, let's check a second opinion. And they realized there was no really big rush, there was no emergency, and that thing would be addressed as time goes by. And later, she got help. I realized that more so when it comes to the medical field, we need to be careful. Yeah, many years back, I was watching a documentary called Let Food, no, it was called Food Matters. And that's when I came across the quote by Hippocrates. And he said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And in that documentary, which was about 3 hours, there was a lot of explanation about how the pharmaceutical industry has been taken over for profits, the cancers. Instead of saying the real solution, nobody wants to talk about the real solution because they are making money out of it. In 2020, I was told hostels, from the time COVID was announced in Kenya from March to December, hostels made 600% profits. The question is, do you think they would like it to go away? How did they make the profit? Because of tests and bed capacities and all sorts of things, and they are expanding. Get to know, sometimes one's meat is another man's poison. So truth welcomes debate and welcomes clarity of thought. Seek and you will find. What it takes is labor, same old effort, I love to say, same old effort. It takes research. It takes diligence. We cannot just wake up and believe everything. And we do not have to doubt everything. We can always just give them time. Yeah, just give them benefit of the doubt. And you don't need to fight over anything. You just need to take time and do your own verification. Do verification, do your own research, do your own background check. And always you need to ask yourself, who are the interested party? Who are the interested parties? What is their interest in this? If somebody is selling for you, if somebody is selling drugs, and that very same person is scaring you about diseases, then you may want to ask whether that is genuine. And you may need to check second opinion, third opinion, so that you are able to be sure that the decision you're making, you can always take responsibility for it. You see, you must learn to take responsibility. So how do you put an elephant in a fridge? I'd like to ask. How do you put an elephant in a fridge? Somebody can just unmute and tell me. This is a question I came across something like 9 years ago. 10 years ago. Yes. Simon Onkundi, how do you put an elephant in a fridge?
That is a funny question. I've seen it somewhere. I don't remember the answer, but that will have to be a giant fridge to fit an elephant, and you will have to get something which the elephant wants, and put it in the fridge so that the elephant follows you or that item into the fridge. Hey, but it will have to be a very big fridge.
Yeah, it's need. Yeah, so let's assume we just open the fridge and put it without much thinking. But then somebody comes back and says, well, how do you put a giraffe in that fridge? Eunice, what would you say? How do you put a giraffe in that fridge? Yeah? Chaviva, how do you put a giraffe in that fridge? How do you put a giraffe in that fridge? Michael, how do you put it?
Does it have to be alive inside? Can it be cut?
Okay, so maybe we cut it. But the answer is, we need to remember that there was a giraffe, there was an elephant in the fridge. And so we need to first of all remove the elephant. Now, I took long before understanding what this means, but I'm coming to that. And then you are told that the king of the jungle, we are told that is a lion. The lion called the meeting. for all the animals. And there was an animal that was missing. A cheeky animal failed to attend, failed to show up. Which could that be?
The hare.
The hare. Samuel, what would you say? Okay, so basically, in the interest of time, get to know that we locked the giraffe in the fridge. So it's the giraffe. The essence of this I came to learn is we must string things together. If somebody tells you this today and tomorrow you listen to another thing, don't forget what was said yesterday, because they need to tie together. You see, and that is exactly what happens. For example, if somebody tells you that that COVID came from bats, then we need to start tracing, okay, where are bats? How did it come? We've lived with bats. Back at home, we have bats. Every house, in one way or the other, has bats. Every house. How come we've not gotten them? If somebody says we are doing contact tracing, then you wonder, are you able to see this COVID? But then if everyone has a potential of giving it to many people, then how does contact tracing work? It means it's like we are chasing the wind. Today, one of my children asked me, where does wind come from? And I honestly said, I don't know. Only God knows. Because not long ago, I started thinking about the wind and thinking about where it comes from and where it's going and what causes it to move. Nobody has seen the wind. We just see its effects. So we need to think in terms of what do we know already? How do they string together? Yes. If we are told that if we want to stay safe, we need to inject ourselves. The question is, then after you've injected yourself, why then do you still feel unsafe? Yeah, I know these ones don't make sense for some people, but then we need to string that together. If you told us 2 jabs are enough, then why do you now talk about 3? Then it means there is something that is either yet to be known fully, or there is somebody who is taking someone for a ride. The fools can become food for the wise. Truth is not a faith-based thing. It's not a faith subject. It is something that can stand on its own. And some of the red alerts that we need to always check on is emergency. If there is some emergency, some sense of urgency, there is something, some decision you are required to make very fast, you are not given room to think, you may want to think again. Yeah, if I can't wait, even if it is a deal, even if it is a business, you need to think about what is the rush for. You see, that's the way it works. Single source, or what I learned to call over-reliance on authority. In recent times, we've become people who rely on single authority like WHO or Fauci. Is the one who knows everything about COVID. Yeah, it seems like all the other ones dropped out of school. And many doctors, I even asked these of professors, don't we have microbiologists? Don't we have pharmacologists? Don't we have professors? Don't we have people who also can think about these things? Did they all export their reasoning to some servers at the WHO? Yeah, when doctors graduate, they take oath of service where they work for the interest of their patients. Where did this one go to? You see, so we start asking questions. If there is only one source, just like I always say, if your only source of truth is probably the Bible, then you may still have something to study. You cannot just have one source. Check, counter-check with multiple sources and verify if it's still standing true. There is this fallacy which I call the dogmatic fallacy. No question, no debate is allowed, no alternatives. There is only one solution. No, 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 no. It cannot be only one. There must be several. Why can't we talk about others? You see, when things started, all I had learned in my life about diseases were they are caused by pathogens. They are caused by some foreign bodies that get into our bodies. And they can be categorized into broadly, I think 3 or 4. It's a bacteria, a virus, a fungi, or we have what we call the parasites. Yeah, the parasites. That could be worms, could be protozoa, all those things. And we know that for viruses, we may not necessarily have medication. And that is how this vaccination ideology came in. And we know the history of how it came in, where a mutilated variant or version of that virus is injected into the body. And this is something that had been tested over the years. The question is, when it is a new thing, like now mRNA, whatever, all these new technology that has not been tested, are we allowed to question? And we also know that a viral disease, we can always take care of it by boosting our immunity, but nobody talks about immunity. You see, we hear about other solutions that don't seem to make sense. And the silver bullet is get injected. And the question is why? Yeah, there are herbs that people have used for decades, for ages. Nobody is talking about them. Then you want to ask why? But again, in many such scenarios, you are not allowed to ask why. You are not allowed to ask what if? What if it doesn't work? What if things go wrong? Yeah. What if something was not right with that vaccine? Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but what if something was wrong with it? And then the whole population is injected with it. What is likely to happen? Yeah. There is always inconsistency. Some of you check out, this is part of the red alert. You check out for inconsistency. Like lockdown. Let's lock down. We locked down, then we still didn't make it. Where is the problem? Yeah, we realize that that very same test, like Dr. Magufuli did, gets a popo with the same disease. Yeah. So as long as there is a reason to doubt, then we need to wait and keep seeking for the truth until we find the truth that sets us free. As long as there is some reason to doubt. Yeah. I saw people being tested for the temperature, thermogun. And I asked myself, how reasonable is this? Because back in my village, people get malaria. Malaria is very predominant, and everyone who gets malaria, your fever is very high. Now, these people are being confined that they have COVID, and their tests, their samples are being sent elsewhere. And so they don't get medication, then they die, and then they are bundled as people who've died of COVID and all sorts of nonsense. And you wonder, what is this? Something doesn't seem to add up, you see. And we had a debate where I stay that we need to start doing the thermogun at the gate. And then I said, then what? So if you found somebody at 41 degrees Celsius, what do? Do you send them away from their home? Yeah. When you remember the inconsistency of the government and the quarantine, people are picked and they quarantine them, then they expect them to pay. When they were told to pay and they were subjected to that, then they said now people can quarantine themselves at home. It doesn't seem to make sense. It doesn't seem to make sense. You see, so again, you check the interest, follow the money. Where is the money? Who is receiving the money? And most times, if you check where the money is, you may just get where the truth is. Yes, you may have reasons to believe something or not to believe something. So if you know the value of what's at stake, you know the value of what is at stake, like our lives are at stake. If you are jabbed and maybe that thing reacts with you, maybe you are the 0.01% that they may claim are experiencing side effects. And if you expand that number, you extrapolate to millions, it's a lot of people. Yes. So life is at stake. What if everything goes wrong? We need to be cautious. Stay curious, looking for a why. Stay independent. And this is where independence comes in. If you want to depend on somebody, some authority, you are going to have some mistakes in your life. We stay, after we've gathered all the information, we make our own decision. And that is what I was taught, that by the end of the day, let your decision be a subject of your own decision. Let it be subject of your own analysis and conclusion, not because somebody told you. Because even when people are getting vaccinated, they sign that they accept responsibility, they won't blame anyone. So, well, I remember recently there was this story of blocking SIM cards for people who don't go queuing, registering. They said that's nonsense, that can't happen. And my reasoning was simple. Yeah, they are all in business. What's their interest? To make money. So who will delete people from the system? Nobody can do that. They didn't. And they had to come out clear. Giving benefits of doubt at times, you take time out to seek more information without necessarily condemning everything. Stay objective, listening to everyone and digesting, not with preformed opinion. You just listen, you just be a listener and digest and find out, does it make sense? Okay, well, this one makes sense because I already know about this previously. If it doesn't make sense, give it time. There is always a price to pay. And when you always want to know the truth or you want to speak the truth, you will not be popular. That is one of the prices you will pay. You will lose friends because they don't seem to be understanding your way of thinking. You will possibly lose your source of income, your jobs. I pity the people who are subjected to mandatory vaccination at workplace and even thereafter are experiencing health challenges, you see, which they never used to have. So there is possibility of pain, intimidation, experiencing all such intimidation or even fear or even threats to your life and all sorts of things, because you are destroying some other people's, you are talking about some other people's livelihoods. So that is the price we've got to pay. But in your verification, ensure you check the source. Yeah, for example, if it is a text, what is the original text? What is the original clip? If it is a clip, there is a possibility of editing or even putting voice over just to propagate a narrative. Check, is your source only Google? If Google is your only source, there is probably a big deal there. If your source is news, KTN or whatever, or BBC, CNN, something is wrong. You need to find multiple sources in order to verify that something is true. Multiple sources. And these sources, as I said, should make sense. They should make sense. If you listen to them, they should make sense. You see, so you don't listen to one doctor, you listen to many doctors. I listened to the American frontline doctors. I listened to several different groups of people, different doctors, different scientists, and using my own scientific understanding, I realized a lot of things don't seem to tie up. Place it into context. Some other things, some other quotes are picked out of context. So if you get the original story and you place it into context, you may be able to understand it. Like when Jesus said it's very difficult for a rich man to go to heaven. Much easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle. Put it to context, otherwise you are likely to get it wrong. Again, read literature. Go back to reading, read literature, go back to literature. Read, what do you already know? What is already known? What is in the know? What is already published? What have people practiced throughout? Yes, if you read, you are going to get the truth. And it must be consistent. Read literature. Many of us are lazy today. We do not want to read. We do not want to seek information. And so we become food for other people. I remember some story we read in school about fools carry themselves and brains encounter brains. So fools carry themselves. If you see the way people go and fight even for those vaccines and all those sorts of things, you may think that is where solution is. Yeah, it means they don't understand how vaccines work. They don't understand where the problem is, and that makes them vulnerable. So let's assess the situation. Let's ask. Don't ask one person, ask severally, ask different people. And sometimes I love to say that sometimes we ask by reading books, listening to some other people. Variety, not one person. Yes, and see if it makes sense. See if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, you are not, you don't have to abide by anything. And whenever you are in doubt, wait. Just take your time. Wait, seek more information, seek other views. Somebody once said, that's Les Brown, life is a fight for territory. Life is a fight for territory. The moment you stop fighting for what you want, whatever you do not want will automatically take over. Yeah. Life is a game. Somebody said it's a game. So somebody is either being played or you are the one playing. If you do not know the name of the game, you will be in trouble. So understand the game. Stay alert. You are your own guard. Don't trust everything. Don't even trust everything that you hear from me. I just want to share my thoughts and opinions about how to seek the truth and verify it. Staying independent, thinking independently, not being swayed by anybody else, and making your own decision, because by the end of the day, you must take responsibility. Thank you very much. I'd like to stop there. Yes, Mike, you can moderate if there are questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Otieno Paul Peter, for that wonderful presentation. Can you get some reactions from the floor? You can clap, you can appreciate, you can say something. But at this moment, I also want to open the floor for questions. We have got around 15 minutes to ask some questions or comments. The floor is ours. Karibuni.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Catherine.
I've been having bad connection, so I've been missing some bits. But thank you, Otieno, for that presentation. I think we've had some kind of discussion on this in the past. My small comment would be like how David got the courage and went up to face Goliath. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the situation is, but that courage is what helps someone. And not having the I can't do it thoughts, you have to know your purpose and know that God is not causing you to be underestimated. You need to believe, and that's how you defy the odds. It doesn't matter if you're small and the challenge is big, having the courage and the faith will actually help us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
And
Catherine.
somebody said the opposite of cowardice is not courage, but conformity. The opposite of courage is not fear, but conformity. Yes, conformity. People who just want to conform. We don't need to conform without asking why not, what if.
Thank you. Somebody else?
Hello, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Simon, huh?
Simon Okundi, yes.
Yeah, I heard you mention a phrase from some stories we read in the 844 system. Huh? Fools carry themselves, brains encounter brains. I know how that story ended.
Yes.
The problem is, and actually it's a sad state of affairs when you find that you are among one of the few people in most of the networks you are in who actually questions everything. Okay? And some of us learned to question everything early on, and we're always praying to God for knowledge and wisdom and revelation. When these things started hitting the airwaves, I had already encountered something else. That was some time back when the conversation around the shape of the earth started, and people started questioning whether man actually landed on the moon. What I encountered that time, that was sometime around 2015, was 2016 there. When you try to bring up the subject, the reaction you get from someone, especially somebody who's gone all the way to university, it's a very, very huge reaction. People are hit with very huge cognitive dissonance, and people actually become angry at you. And then it was also the same when COVID hit the news, and everybody is so scared. People are afraid, and now people have been told a vaccine is coming next month. Now, if you try to tell people, hey, let's wait and see how this thing goes, and you're told, guys look at you like you're a Martian. You're some sort of cartoon. That is, that's when I actually connected the two, and I realized in this world, what we are going through right now, it's all spiritual, because it is written that people shall have eyes but they will not see, they shall have ears and they will not hear. So we can continue sharing the message, yes, but just know that there are people who, even if you show them all the proof, nothing will happen. And then there are others who, after seeing a few facts here and there, they'll connect one and one themselves and come to a conclusion. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Simon. A few comments about that. One, I learned long time ago that in this world, only 2% think. If you put 100 people together, you are only likely to get 2 people among them thinking, and 3% would think they think. And I always love to say that I think I could be in that 3% because I think. I'm not sure if I'm thinking, yeah, but I want to believe I think. But then 95% would rather die than think. So don't worry when you are you find yourself in groups of even some people who are even more educated, and they don't seem to think the way you think. There are very few people who've ever discovered anything under the sun. Yeah, it's because there are just a number of people who can think. Not everyone is supposed to. Again, I love to quote. Sometimes people don't want me to quote such names, but I like to do it anyway because I learn from everybody. I love listening. A couple of years ago, I think like 2 years ago, when COVID started, Pastor Nganga said something to do with mtu wa kukufa ni wa kukufa tu, mtu wa kisirani ni wa kisirani tu, and I love that because it made a lot of sense. There are people, even if you dragged them out of it, even if you talked and agreed, the following day you'll see them in the queue taking the very same thing you discussed. Yeah, think about Pharaoh, the Egyptian Pharaoh in the time of Moses. He saw all the signs, but still went ahead to pursue the Israelites. So mtu wa kufa ni wa kufa tu, mtu wa kisirani ni wa kisirani tu. Yeah, there is nothing you can do about it, and God is for us all. You just do your part by sharing information. The rest, you let them make their own decision. Just the same way, people, you can gather information, then you make up your own decision. Thank you.
Otieno Paul Peter.
Yeah.
If I may,
yes, Melvin.
If I may say this, you know, the Socratic method of public discourse is discouraged in this country. It's discouraged even in universities. It's discouraged in places of higher learning. And it's discouraged by the very government that is supposed to serve us. Now, a case in point is the ongoing HPV vaccination of girls from the age of 9. Okay, so I have an 8-year-old daughter who has 9-year-old classmates. Now, some of their parents have signed that consent form without interrogating the use of that vaccine in other parts of the world. In particular, in India, it has been banned. Okay, in France, it is not mandatory. And yet in the eastern part of this city, I'm being told that parents were not even consulted. And their daughters who are aged 9 have been vaccinated. So I really sympathize with those of us in this country who do not question, who do not ask. I even asked, when my daughter came with that story, I told her she's not getting it. But I took the trouble of talking to people in the Kenya Episcopal Conference. I talked to a doctor in the Catholic Church and so on, to find out what is the stand of the Kenya Catholic Doctors Association, who had made a stand way back in 2019 about this very vaccine and said that it was not advisable. So that is what I have, we have agreed that this is what we're not going to consent to this girl getting that vaccination. And I guess the same thing goes with COVID and all other vaccines. You need to really study the scientific basis for the advisory that you're getting from your government, because your government is getting it for free. Now, AstraZeneca has done a deal with the Kenya government, or is it the NMS? And they're going to have mobile vans getting people to be vaccinated against COVID. So that's my humble contribution.
Thank you very much, Melvin, Dr. Melvin. By the way, for people who don't know, Melvin is a medical doctor. Now, I love what you are saying, and I did the same about that HPV vaccine. I didn't consent, and I said to the children, ignore those things. Don't go talk about it anymore. Let people who want it go for it. When this COVID thing started, and I suggested, and I even talked to some professors, why can't we have a public discourse? Why can't we have a public lecture? Why can't we have people called to Taifa Hall, for example, in the University of Nairobi, the academia, to discuss a solution? Because whenever a country or a team or a group of people or a company experiences problem, the wisest thing to do is to bring leadership together and bring all the people from all walks of life so that people discuss, debate, and come up with solutions. We cannot be people who are not thinking at all, that we are waiting for some white person to give us a solution. Let me give you a good story. I said I'm a member of the Rotary Club, and in one of the discussions, there was this issue of there is going to be total lockdown. That was before the lockdowns, that we were doing what was happening in Italy. And I said, that cannot work in Kenya. In Italy, they are given food. Nobody will give you food in Kenya. In our country, we have people who fend for their daily bread every single day. Why do you want them to die of hunger? Because of some other imagined virus. And if you check those people, I learned that in the West, a vaccine, a common cold, if somebody has a common cold, they are quarantined. They don't come out until they are free, until they are healed. So that is their natural response. That is not our natural response. Why do we just adopt solutions that don't seem to conform to us? I said that can't work. Nobody, if they try it one day, total lockdown, there will be masses in the streets. And it didn't happen. But people kept arguing, is it life or livelihood? But how can you have life without livelihood? So most of the people do not want that questioning. And then the other problem that we have is trusting the government. I was discussing with some other friend, also neighbor, and he told me, I trust our government. And I asked myself, after a long time, I kept thinking, who is this government to be trusted? Is it not composed of people who have their own personal interests, who are making decisions? Somebody goes to Geneva or Tokyo or wherever, on behalf of government and appending signature without consulting, depending on whatever they are given there or brokerage they are making. And the government is making money from the West, giving them money that they are taking care of COVID, and they want that money. They will take care of everything. And then I asked myself, why would the whites be so interested in us? And the only answer I've gotten so far is, we have the richest land under the sun. Africa is the largest and the richest, and we are fewest, and it will be easy to do away with us. Last time they came with the guns to colonize, but afterwards, what else? They now come with other tricks so that we can be normal. And that got confirmed when I watched a clip by Bill Gates called the Innovation Zero something, that was talking about, if we do a very good job with the vaccines, the contraceptives, the reproductive health care, whatever, then we may reduce that population by 10 to 15%. Now, if somebody is talking about reducing population, let me stop it there. Thank you for that contribution.
Thank you. Yeah, please do, and maybe the last one, because time is catching up. Karibu, Daktari.
The whole issue of truth and independence is important. And all I can say is that I am happy, Otieno, you mentioned that there is a high cost to standing for truth. There has always been. And that is where people part ways. I remember when we started, when we first joined Kivova, there's a lot of steam, people are posting angry posts and so on. But when the rubber meets the road, when the pressure really comes, that's when we will know. And by the way, that pressure has not yet fully come. So it's important for us to develop solid convictions and to understand a number of things, I think, one of which is whether COVID came or not, we were going to die someday. I always naughtily tell people that night I was conceived, I started to die. So nobody should scare me with death, because that one was going to happen anyway, whether there is COVID or not. That liberates you, because right now the impression is almost like if COVID could go, death would go, as though death was not always here. So what I'm just trying to say is sobriety. Sobriety is going to be a crucial thing, and sobriety means that we are using reason rather than emotion. We usually think of sobriety when people have taken 10 for the road. But what we sometimes forget is that sobriety is not only taken away by alcohol, it's also taken away by fear and other emotions. So we need to keep steady. And I thank you for the thoughts you've shared about truth. Of course, the time is flying. That's an area I'm interested in, truth, but we can talk truth itself for much longer another day. But thank you for reminding us to connect things and to ask questions. You know what I find very interesting is God Almighty allows me to ask him questions. He says, come, let us reason together. He says, test the spirits. That's actually from 1 John 4. And if God agrees to be questioned, why should governments refuse to be questioned? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, test the truth, test the spirits. Yeah, and emotions. When people want to drive us to fear so that we make unreasonable decisions. Yeah, so we must stay sober, and that's why we say desperation brings in fear, brings in unwarranted decisions, but we must stay focused, because we might just make a decision that would wipe the whole humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Otieno Paul. I think the only thing I can add from the wonderful presentation, the questions and comments that our team members have brought in, is that God gave us a brain, And the brain is the most powerful tool or weapon that man has. Unfortunately, we don't use it. And I agree with you about the 2%. The thing between our ears is what will determine the quality of our lives. If we don't use it, we cannot blame God for not using it. And so talking about even the truth, and I think it's Dr. Melvin was talking about the church. It's unfortunate that even those who are supposed to be upholders of truth and independence don't do so. So it behoves on us as at an individual level, and that's why this talk was very good, that to question, ask the question why, analyze, so that you can make that independent decision without coercion. And so with those few remarks, I'd like to appreciate our guest speaker, Otieno Paul Peter.